Hello, everyone. Phil Turek here. Happy Monday to you all. In this episode of Martians on Earth, I want to talk to you about the AIAA and what my plans are for this week for myself. Okay, in our previous episode, which I'm setting up now, I had mentioned this large, all-encompassing project I'm starting to work on, where I'm trying to involve all these different organizations. And I mentioned the American Institute of Aeronautics and Astronautics. So this is the one I'm going to be highlighting for this week for myself. And so the Mars Society currently does their International Mission to Mars. It's a summertime event. It takes place online. You actually pay $50 to register. You are part of a team based on time zone. And pretty much every year, it seems to be that the mission is to design a surface settlement on Mars for a crew of 6. And they're broken up. The team members are broken up into 3 groups. This competition has about a week of training and about 3 weeks of online collaboration. And then during the 4th week, they do presentations. They do critiquing of each other for half an hour, and then they do a rebuttal, and then a winner is selected from that. In the old days, Anita Gale, Dick Edwards, and Rob Kolstad started the Space Settlement Design Competition, which has grown up over the years to become the International Space Settlement Design Competition. And on this one, it's annual. It's for high school teams around the world. There's qualifying rounds. But the settlement size is, I think, on the range of at least 5 or maybe it was 7,000 people in a city, up to 50, maybe it was even 70,000 people in a city. So large scale and set 30 years in the future or more, maybe. And it has this whole alternate reality built up. And you can read about it. There's a lot of information about it online. Now, in her, because Anita's still carrying the torch here, in ISSDC, they have them broken up into 4 groups. And it takes place during the school year. Typically, they release an RFP, I think around January timeframe, maybe, sometimes earlier. And a proposal is due, a 40-page qualifying submission is typically due by, I think, Memorial Day, maybe a little earlier. And then some judges review the paper submissions, and they select finalist teams to actually go and meet physically at some location. Here in the United States, that's currently Johnson Space Center down in Texas. And then over a long weekend, these formed teams, 4 of them, are given a new scenario, and they work with their new team members to do a 35-minute presentation, 10 minutes of judging, and then a winner is selected from that. So what I'm proposing to do is my international Mars Settlement Design Competition. I'd like it to be annual, but I'm not after just a 6-person little crew, and I'm not after a 5,000-person settlement. I'm trying to have the first viable, self-sustaining settlement on the surface of Mars. And so my number is pretty much the low 50s and an odd number. So like 53 full-time residents, maybe up to 12 transients or visitors at any one time. I really like the space set format of having 4 teams, having 4 departments within those teams, having, I'm not sure, but let's say over the same time span as space settlements, followed by a qualifying, a finalist round. It's sort of like the schedule of the Mars Society, where they do it over the summer for a few weeks. Qualifying submission, 25 pages, maybe, like Mars Society does, but they do a video presentation and go from there. Not sure, but this is the draft of what I'm going to be working on this week, is coming up with my own RFP, request for proposals. All right. So my goal for this week is to take all of this to the AIAA. So let me, they have their website, and the specific LALV website that I've listed here at the bottom of the screen is for the Los Angeles, Las Vegas chapters of the American Institute of Aeronautics and Astronautics. And quoting from the website, it says, from 1963, they've achieved virtually every milestone in modern American flight. It's a high-end aerospace engineering professional organization. They have a beautiful website. Here's a screenshot from just their space settlement gallery. And so if you click on that, you pick an avatar, and then you use your keyboard to walk your avatar up and down the gallery here and look at the artwork that's on display. I recognize in this image, for example, this is artwork from the 1970s for Gerard O'Neill class space settlement colony, right? So it's a great organization. Their website is way, way, way better than my little thing here. But I want to go and interact with them, and my goal is to get out there this week and try to get them fired up. And so I have 3 proposals. I decided I'm going to do it this way. So a small proposal for the AIAA to work on is to design a Mars surface settlement for 53 residents and 12 visitors. And then what would be my medium proposal? Well, in addition to that, design what an analog surface settlement would look like here on Earth, something that would visually represent it. How much would it cost? Where should it be located? Could it be made out of yurts? Could it be an abandoned elementary school? Like the one where I grew up is an empty building now. It's not really an ideal visualization of it, but it's a place. And, my mind goes like that. So I'm also thinking, all those refugees that are flocking to the United States and we don't have a place for them, is an abandoned school location something that a community could choose to have as a place for them and take like their athletic fields and turn that into community gardens for these refugees? I don't know. It's a thought. And then kind of the same idea about shopping malls, not the outdoor strip malls, because it needs to be like an enclosed environment for the settlement. But something like an abandoned indoor mall, is that something that could be used as an analog surface settlement? Maybe, I don't know about housing refugees. They won't have gardens in an indoor mall, but okay. Stuff to think about. Anyways, so what's the large? So the large proposal for the AIAA is, in addition to doing a Mars surface design and an analog surface design or selection, is to also act like a reality-based guidelines for all these different external competition teams that I want to involve if this ever were to become like a reality TV show, right? Okay, so here's the image from a previous episode of what the small project would look like. Here we see 3 habitation modules, HABs, and they're linked together to form a slightly larger base, but that's not large enough. And then the architectural layout shown on the bottom of the screen is from Brent Sherwood and Scott Howe's book about how do you take into account airlocks and visibility and accessibility and . And so these are preliminary designs that are not refined, but this is where I would ask the AIAA to take this on as a project and kind of finalize the design and come up with some visual aids. Showing 3 HABs is insufficient for going forward. And what I really need is something that shows, all right, so what's a reasonable, realistic design, visually, layout for a 53-person Martian settlement that's viable, self-sustaining, can accommodate up to a dozen visitors at a time. Could that be have modules that are linked together? If so, can they create a visual representation of it that I can use and go and share with all the other organizations I want to share it with, and you, dear public? Okay, so that's a small project. Now, the medium project would be, okay, in addition to that, what would it take to have something that looks sort of like that here on Earth as an analog site? Would this be where we take the existing Mars Desert Research Station that's operated by the Mars Society, or maybe the new one in the Gobi Desert that the Mongolians are working on, and build additional habitation modules and then have them interconnected with some sort of covered walkway? This photograph on the right is from a ski resort in Canada. It shows 3 yurts that are interconnected together. And if I back up a slide, we might want to be able to reconfigure this first settlement and say, okay, the flying cross looks too much like a swastika, someone pointed out. So bad, juju or something. Maybe try the pinwheel, and then the next season reconfigure it to be in the block shape based on experience and what we've learned and what the drawbacks were, and trial and error. So maybe having something like yurts that can be reconfigured is better than having something like the HAB modules, which are pretty substantial two-story structures. But that's what I would go and ask the AIAA to figure out as a medium level product. And then the third level product is this. Suppose we really did get this to be taken up by people. Right now, it is just me doing this by myself. My next door neighbor, one of the Steves in my life, asked me, am I doing this on my own or am I part of a group? And today, October 30th, 2023, I'm doing it by myself. But what have I done? Well, last week I've created a website and a YouTube channel and a way for you to make donations to support this. So this week, my goal is to reach out to the Los Angeles, Las Vegas local chapter of the AIAA, make an appointment, go up there, talk with them, or schedule a meeting on one of their next upcoming presentations and pitch this to them and say, okay, well, here's the large project. What if we could treat this almost as if it were going to be a reality TV show? And actually, regardless, here's what I want to do. Involve these different groups, some of which you see on the screen, and have them work on establishing the cultural foundation of a Martian settlement, and then create this analog settlement somewhere on Earth and put the crews through it. And over a simulated time span, I'm estimating 16 weeks to get it kind of stabilized. Have these cultures sort of germinated and simulated Martian cultural values, and assess it and see what it's like. So in that situation, the AIAA, they've done their job already with the small and medium project. They have come up with a design for what a Martian settlement should look like on Mars. They've come up as what could we do to have an analog settlement here on Earth to play with, to work with, to use as a site for testing and measuring. And now the large project is, okay, you've done that much AIAA. Now we're going to let the first season I propose high school teams design what the culture is going to be like that's inhabiting this settlement that the AIAA has physically worked out the layout for. So, ideally there's going to be some iterations here where the AIAA says, okay, we've worked out this settlement for the 53 people. And then while the cultural values are being established, they might come up and say, well, you didn't take into account that these are going to be families and they're going to be in need of having pets with them, maybe. Or what if some of the crew, some of the settlers are no longer fully able-bodied? We're all temporarily able-bodied at best, and some of us have challenges our whole lives. What's the accommodations on this Martian settlement for people with various challenges, sometimes called disabilities, but challenges. Okay. So in response to what the teams are designing for cultural accommodations, okay, cultural accommodation. So, there are, oh gosh, right now there's the world conflict between uh, Muslims and Jews. They have a hard time sharing meals together, right? So one culture says, no, it's got to be all kosher and done this way. And the other culture says, no, it's got to be done that way. And so about the only thing they can share in common are fruits and maybe vegetables. So how's that being accommodated for cultural values on a Martian settlement? And maybe the AIAA, when they came up with their physical representation of what the settlement looks like, didn't worry about that so much, right? They're just worried about, oh man, natural views, airlocks, housing, food production, energy, transportation, right? Very, very specific engineering considerations, not the cultural aspects. And so maybe as the high school teams create their cultural inhabitant requirements, it will flow back to the AIAA that says, well, next iteration, we need to make some changes here. We need to accommodate for various religions and what their needs would be on this settlement, right? Stuff that they don't really, as engineers, take into consideration so much. They would like just very cut and dried specifications. Okay, 53 people. They're there for a 26-month cycle, and between visits from Earth and two-way transfer to Earth of materials, what does it take, right? They can do that really well. Cultural aspects, this is where outside teams would now get involved. And the screen is showing, oh yeah, okay, there's the nationhood lab, there's the social progress imperative. I've talked about them in previous episodes. So that would be the large project for the AIAA. Might be too futuristic for this week, but my goal for this week is to make contact with the local chapter of the AIAA, set up a meeting, and I would prefer to commute up into the LA area and, meet with them face to face and pitch this project to them. And so maybe I won't be the only person working towards this goal of bringing real Martians to Earth. All right, so go check out the AIAA website. Here's again a reminder of the link to it, AIAA-LALV.org, and just admire what they can do. And that's it for this week. Bye.